Andrade and Garry Russell Jr., man. Why can't these guys land a big fight, man?
With Andrade, it's frustrating because he has opportunities to stop guys early, and when he doesn't take advantage of them, and he just coasts to the rest of the fight, it turns people off. Like this last fight that he had at the club in Miami, he had the guy out of there early, and then what does his coach tell him? Oh well, just box. Like not even like get in there and finish this guy. And people get frustrated about that. They get frustrated. That's one. Two, he's a southpaw. He's a southpaw that's tall and long. People don't want that. And like that old line in Rocky, he's all wrong for us, baby. And that's the case for a lot of these guys. Like he's all wrong for a lot of guys. And so, nobody wants to get in there with that. You look at Triple G. Triple G has said it multiple times. He don't want that fight. Like nobody wants that fight. And so Andrade finds himself in a situation where he has to keep fighting these mandatories, or maybe fight Billy Joe next. Like who knows? But that's the deal with that. As far as Garry Russell, so my understanding is that Garry Russell is like a real estate agent when he's not fighting. I don't know if he still does that or not, but he's a real estate agent in Maryland, and maybe that has been producing some good checks for him, and he's satisfied with just fighting once a year. He's also said that he hates training. He's mentioned that in a few interviews. So maybe he gets up for that one time a year and says, "Okay, I'm good. I did what I needed to do. Let me go back into hiding again." And he's another guy. He's super fast. He is super fast. He has a ton of talent. And at 126, there wasn't no one out there at 126 that wanted to face that guy. I guess Leo wanted the fight, but Al Heyman, Leo is Al Heyman's guy, and so I think in the back of Al Heyman's mind, he didn't want Leo to face Russell because he may have known what the outcome would have been. So now Gary's just kind of chasing fights, and so good luck to him. He'll fight somebody maybe at 130, 135, probably a division higher than what he needs to be fighting, and he probably will get beat. If I'm Garry Russell, I'll stay at 126, maybe even drop down to 122. There's some exciting fights down there. If he can make this 122, he's small enough, he probably can, and maybe capture some titles there. But we'll see.
I mean, what I think what's so sad about this, and the reason why it's so shocking to me, because we're not talking about two bums here. We're talking about two world-class athletes at the top of the game. So when you're talking about Boo Boo Andrade, and we're talking about Garry Russell Jr., we're not talking about just some journeyman. We're talking about guys that are still can make a mark in boxing, still can make great fights. I agree with you with the Demetrius part. I think he makes trouble for anybody because if you look at his build, the way he's just built, how Michael Phelps was built to swim. They did this whole thing on Sports Illustrated. They broke him down how scientifically, he should have been a fish or something. But Andrade is built weird like that, And then you put that together with some boxing skill. You put that together with some power and finesse. I mean, he's trouble for anybody. But so that's why I don't understand, and I do understand. He's sort of falling into that Winky Wright little world,
Yeah.
Yeah, when nobody wants to fight Winky Wright because they knew what the outcome is. However, the egos at 160 don't allow me to believe that. The egos at the 160 with the Charlos and the Caleb Plants and the Benavides and all these guys that can make these great fights. And that's what's frustrating. We talk about Garry Russell Jr. and you talk about Andrade, is that they're fighting in divisions with stacked fighters. Mm-hmm. Number one, they're not bum fighters. They're world-class athletes. And number two, there's other world-class athletes in there that could make for great fights. So why boxing finds themselves in this predicament time and again frustrates me as a fan, because these are fights that we should be seeing. These are fights that we should be watching. I don't care if Andrade fights Benavides. I don't care if he fights Caleb Plant. I don't care if he fights Canelo. He was there yesterday, and him and Chris Maddox shared some words yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little heated there for a second, but I let it play out. And I don't. And by the way, I don't necessarily disagree with Andrade.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with Andrew, but yeah, so it's frustrating to see these guys out there, not be able to land these money fights. As far as Garry Russell Jr. is concerned, yeah, he doesn't like to train. Yeah, he probably does real estate. Is probably doing well, but nothing's going to bring in the kind of money of landing a major fight, and I think that's what he's looking for, landing a major fight in that division with any of those guys, because he's definitely game for it. Uh, and I think he'll definitely put on a good fight. He's definitely making videos, whether he's calling
Yeah.
people bluff or not. He keeps making videos, and I would have thought that after he allegedly threatened Santa Cruz's father, that fight would have happened just on sheer principle alone. And still that fight didn't manifest itself. So that gives validity to your point that maybe people just want to stay away from these guys, man.